Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
My wife was killed in a tragic accident. Then I found out she was cheating. 2 months ago, my wife, 10 years and 35, she was 34, tragically passed away in a car accident, hit by a drunk driver in broad daylight. I cried nonstop for 3 days. We were planning on having kids, and I had started a good-paying job a year earlier, and we just purchased our first home just 2 months before her death. I just couldn't and still can't believe she's really gone from my life. It's like just yesterday, everything was heading in the right direction and would soon raise a family. She seemed happy in our marriage and stated how proud of me she was. The following week after the accident, I received her phone, which was locked. After a week, I found out how to unlock it by an obvious code I didn't think of earlier. I simply just wanted it to keep photos in her memory, photos of us and so forth. But I saw some odd things in her photos. Included photos of her in someone else's house, a house which I had never seen before, taking provocative images. I continued scrolling down and seeing the most heart-wrenching thing I ever seen, which was her with another man. It was nothing sexual, but they were in a place that was obviously his. At just how close they were, I just knew that this was an affair. The guy who wife had an affair with showed up at her funeral. I felt like I got stabbed in the gut when I realized I seen him there. I began reading her texts, and first I found out that she was on her way back from his place. 3 hours before the accident, she texted him saying, "I'm on my way." I knew that meant he was the last one to see my wife. Not only see her, but having an intimate moment with her. Also, she would still be here right now if she wasn't seeing him. I feel like I'm going through a death of a loved one and a breakup at the same time. She did this behind my back and will never know that I found out. In a way, I feel she got to escape the heartbreak she put me through, although I fully understand death is much worse, and even knowing everything I know, I would never ever wish this or any pain upon her. I found out not only through her texts, but her Facebook messages. Something that absolutely enraged me is that she told her closest friend that this guy from work wanted to take her out to dinner. Her friend encouraged her to go out with him. It enraged me because I knew her as well, and in person she was always very nice. But my wife was asking her to get confirmation, and she said, "No, you are married, do not go out with him." I honestly feel like she wouldn't have done it, but her best friend was like, "Oh, is he hot? Oh, do it." Though about fun, it's just fucking enraging. This happened 6 months ago when she asked her friend about it. A few days later, she talked to her friend about how after dinner she went to his place and had sex multiple times. When I read that, I honestly got physically sick. I honestly started going through a breakdown, vomiting in the toilet, then crying on the bathroom floor. I just can't imagine that this stuff actually happened, but it did. How could she do this? But as the days passed and the initial shock began to slow down, I started piecing things together. The funeral, I noticed something a little unusual, which was this best friend of hers talking to one of her coworkers. This was a friend from high school, and there was no reason she should have known any of her coworkers. But she was in fact talking to her coworker who she had the affair with. Then she came and talked to me, gave me a hug. The guy who my wife was having an affair with came and shook my hand. Something about that just makes me feel sick. Like I was being humiliated. In a moment of grief, there was him and her best friend who knew about her affair. I couldn't help but wonder, did her coworkers also know? It's been a month and I feel no closer to breaking away from the heartbreak. I miss her. I want her to be alive. If she was, I would probably even want to fix our marriage, but she's not here anymore. I still couldn't bring myself to read all of her text messages with him. There is hundreds, and some are sexually explicit. My blood boils and my heart aches when I open their texts, and I get hit with anxiety and an adrenaline rush. Palms get sweaty and hands shake, but I feel it's important I knew everything. It just breaks my heart. This guy did things with my wife she would do for me. The thing that blows my mind the most is that there were no warning signs at all, not fucking one. Our marriage was good. She never did anything suspicious. Our sex life went on as normal. Just zero warning signs about it, other than the fact she started wearing a little more makeup than usual. Then I blame myself for not catching on. Maybe this all could have been prevented. Maybe I should have done this or that. I am broken and don't see myself ever being happy again. Edit. Thanks everyone for all the support. I honestly didn't expect so much. Response. Everyone who wished me well, thank you, and know that your kind words give me strength. I have had a response back from her friend, stating that she is deeply sorry for encouraging the behavior and not taking my feelings into account. She never wanted me hurt and yada yada. Honestly, I don't feel any relief from her apologies. About the phone, I cannot bring myself to destroy all the truth. I feel like I must read through the entirety of my wife's texts with this man, or I will forever go crazy wondering what did and didn't occur. How often, and maybe get some answers on if they were lovers. Was it just lust/sex, or what did she plan on doing? Obviously, in this state of trauma, I cannot emotionally handle reading their conversations, but I decided to keep the phone, to read it all and then toss it and move on. Also, for people telling me to piss on her grave, or saying this is karma, please drop it and don't comment. I loved her for over a decade and it's not going away like that. I still love this woman, even with the disgusting things she has done. She was still my wife, a daughter, and an aunt. She didn't deserve to get hit by some drunk driver and suffer with bleeding her brain that ultimately caused her death. Please go away, I do not need this, and I am not a sick-minded enough man to have those thoughts. For everyone else, thank you so much. Story 2. MC helping rewrite the truths I tell myself about my husband's infidelity. Truth 1, that my husband sought out porn and sex with escorts and other women. I have felt hurt, angry, and unloved. However, his serial infidelity had nothing to do with me. He did this because of his own feelings of being unattractive / unwanted and needing to seek validation. His actions say nothing about me. They are just what he chose to do because of his own inner pain. Truth 2, my husband repeatedly lied to me. I felt unworthy and that this meant I was not deserving of basic dignity and kindness. I felt degraded by this lack of empathy. But his choices to lie say nothing about me. He lied because he felt ashamed and guilty and afraid. He has never felt worthwhile since he was a little boy and he was just afraid of my reaction. Truth 3, my husband betrayed our relationship by stepping outside of our vows. I have felt at times disrespected, used, and mocked. I realized that my husband only did this to try to excuse his own behavior, to present his infidelity as somehow justified. He needed to put me down to make himself feel better. I now realize that I am worthy. His infidelity and disparaging comments about me comes from the place inside of him that hates himself and often resents me for seeing it. Truth 4. My husband chose to throw away his morals and values by having extramarital affairs and by doing so with sex workers. I have felt that I might be a horrible person because he couldn't come and talk to me before doing this. Perhaps out of fear of rejection or judgment, he chose a secret and separate life and to live a performance of a life with me that was more outwardly acceptable so people would think well of him. His fear of what others think has been with him all his life, long before he met me, and so none of this is about me at all. Truth 5. My husband told me he enjoyed the thrill of engaging escorts because it was naughty, it was taboo. I worried that he enjoyed deceiving me because he feels I am an inferior person to him, and that I deserved it. The truth is that he enjoys being deceptive and getting away with things behind people's backs because it makes him feel superior. He does this because he can't face feeling inadequate or inferior himself. It's actually a defense mechanism. Truth 6. Because of my husband's affairs, I felt that even at the most basic level as a person, I was not worth anything to my husband other than what I could offer him as the mother of our son and financial benefits of my job. I felt used and unloved. However, when my husband met me, he was already an unhappy man.